24, 1997, David Smith Phillip was sentenced to death for the murder of his friend and neighbor, 16-year-old Jeremy Javies. The brutal crime took place on March 22, 1995, when Smith shot Jeremy in the arms and legs, before ultimately ending his life with a gunshot to the mouth. However, on March 7, 1997, his sentence was commuted to life in prison. The tragic loss of Jeremy's young life and the heinous nature of the crime serve as a reminder of the devastating impact that senseless violence can have on families and communities. Vise, called Don Vito, was an Italian-American gangster who became widely famous during Prohibition and in the years that followed. He was also called the Boss of Bosses, and he headed the famous Genovese clan. He famously made heroin a mass drug. Genovese was born in Italy and moved to New York in 1913. Quickly joining the criminal circles, Genovese soon met Lucky Luciano, and together they took down a rival gangster, Salvatore Maranziano. Fleeing from the police, Genovese returned to his native Italy, where he remained until the end of World War II, befriending Benito Mussolini himself. Upon his return, he immediately began leading the old way of life, seizing power in the world of crime and once again becoming the man everyone feared. In 1959, he was accused of drug trafficking and imprisoned for 15 years. In 1969, Genovese died of a heart attack at the age of 71. Photograph captures a Texarkana resident, circa 1946. She appears to have taken matters into her own hands, setting up Home Alone-style traps in her home as a precaution against the notorious Phantom, a serial killer who terrorized the area. But what's truly fascinating is that these photos were taken during the Phantom's final month of activity. After that, the killer disappeared without a trace. What happened to him? Did he retire or meet a more sinister fate? The mystery of the Phantom lives on. In 1980, during a trial, an observer noticed the absence of one of the jurors. It was then that Ted Bundy, notorious for his 2 successful prison escapes, immediately volunteered to look for the missing juror. This might have been the perfect opportunity for Ted to make his escape yet again, but fate had other plans. Ted Bundy's criminal past finally caught up with him, and justice was served. His crimes were nothing short of horrifying. After being caught with a dead body in the passenger seat of his car, investigators uncovered a coded list in his trunk containing cryptic references to his victims, a staggering 67 of them. Despite being charged with 16 counts of murder, Kraft refused to plead guilty. However, justice was served when he was sentenced to death on November 29, 1989. The story of Randy Kraft's victims is a stark reminder of the evil that can exist in the world, and the importance of diligence in seeking justice for those who have been wronged. Meet Archibald Hall, a highly professional butler who was hired by London's most aristocratic families. Despite his charming personality, Archibald had a dark side to him. He gained the trust of his masters, only to brutally murder them and steal their family valuables. In total, the butler killer took the lives of 5 people. Beware of the wolf in sheep's clothing. This short video on a notorious serial killer known as Biblical John, who operated in Scotland from 1968 to 1969. The nickname Biblical John was given to him by a witness who described his good manners, elegant clothes, and constant quotation of the Bible. Biblical John was involved in at least 3 murders, all of which were young women who were last seen in dance clubs. Interestingly, the victims shared many similarities, such as having dark hair and wearing dark clothes. Additionally, all of the victims were menstruating, and tampons and sanitary napkins were found near their bodies. This shocking detail led investigators to believe that the killer may have had a sexual motive for his crimes. The case of Biblical John remains unsolved, and his true identity is still unknown. It serves as a haunting reminder of the danger that can exist in the world around us.